Well, good evening, community. My name again is Mark Scott. I'm co-host of both sides of the conversation, staying in behalf right now for the bishop who is dealing with issues in the community. It is with a heavy heart that we open up tonight's Thursday broadcast, but again, we are committed to impacting community, and thank you for. We don't have to do it alone. So, Sister Ayo, please say something to the community.
Good evening, community. Happy Thursday. We have a great educational Thursday, a subject matter which is close and near and dear to myself. And we send our love, deepest condolences, and empathy out to the bishop this evening and everyone in the community that has been impacted this week with everything that's going on. We have some heavy news this week, but hopefully, with this guest that we have tonight, we can shed some light and give some people some resources and things to help them get out of their own way. Thank you.
Yes, so we definitely have a very timely subject on the art of becoming resilient by our guest tonight, but we do have to get to the news and the events. The show must go on, as they say, but please excuse us because we are working through having some heavy hearts. So I'm going to go ahead and get started with the news. And the first headline in the world news reads Walgreens security guard fined $1,500 after killing Banco Brown, but not for shooting him. Michael Earl Wayne Anthony, who shot and killed 24-year-old Banco Brown on April 27th, faces a $1,500 fine from the state. But the fine, the first official consequence for Anthony, who was not charged by District Attorney Brooke Jenkins, is not related to his decision to shoot and kill Brown. Instead, the California Bureau of Security and Investigative Services cited him for not wearing a badge identifying him as a security guard and having a concealed weapon. That weapon was in addition to the gun he used to kill Brown. Another headline reads San Francisco business owner indicted in Section 8 benefit scam. A federal grand jury indicted Dr. Gregory Finkelson, president of American Corporate Services, Wednesday in connection with the Section 8 housing benefit scam that authorities say netted him hundreds of thousands of dollars. Finkelson, 63, is charged with conspiracy of theft of government property and 3 counts of money laundering. Investigators say he paid himself approximately $340,000 while hiding his true income, as well as the fact he had ownership interest in the house he rented with Section 8 benefits. Also in the headlines, San Francisco mayor's race. London breed challenger raises 149,000 campaign says. Supervisor Asha Safai, the first notable candidate to challenge Mayor London Breed, is finding people who are receptive to his pitch for new leadership in the city. Over a nearly 2 month period in the Excelsior supervisor raised almost $149,000 from 380 donors. The contributors were split almost evenly between the local. 52% of contributors came from San Franciscans and 48% from people living outside of the city, according to the campaign. Also in the news, covered California health insurance premiums to rise 10%. Premiums for health insurance sold through the state marketplace will increase by a projected 9.6% this year, the highest rate hike since 2018, though about 90% of enrollees qualify for some type of federal or state financial aid, and 20% will see no change in their monthly premiums, officials say. And finally, in the headlines, man fatally shot by San Francisco police, identified as 41-year-old Wright Bluford. Ryan Bluford, just pause for a moment, say his name, Ryan Bluford community, was shot and killed after San Francisco's Community Violence Reduction Team officers opened fire Wednesday evening on a residential street in Bayview Hunters Point, striking at least one home while children played and residents were outside. In a press conference a couple of hours after the incident, SFPD said Mr. Bluford had approached officers who were trying to arrest someone else and was carrying a firearm, but did not describe the gun or how they made that determination. They also left crime scene tape and blood residue for the community and their children to be reminded of the senseless tragedy upon disbanding from the scene later. Just want to take a moment of silence, say a prayer. Remember the name Ryan Bluford. Sister Ayo, can you do the events?
Yes. And today in the events, we have Flyaway Youth Performers, Girl Fly 2023, presenting 20 youth performers looking at systems of belonging and identify as they respond to the question, what do you carry to the lands you now live in, from the lands you have come from? Friday, July 28th, from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Space 124 401 Alabama Street, San Francisco. 3rd Street, Friday Night Market. Support Black business. Shop local men's and women's wear. Gift items, music, and fun. Vendors wanted. Every Friday in July, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. at 1700 Yosemite, across from Cafe Envy. The YMCA 90s theme Back on the Block Party and Resource Fair, July 28th, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. at 1654 Sunnydale Avenue, San Francisco. Come out for the resources, music, fun, and more. All in San Francisco, 9th annual backpack giveaway, free haircuts, free food, arts and craft, and more. The child must be present to receive a backpack at 701 Alabama Street. OMI, sorry, OMI Cultural Participation Projects Community Cleanup, July 29th, 2023 at 9:30 a.m., adjacent to 65 St. Charles Avenue in San Francisco. Be a part of creating a plan that improves all modes of in getting around our neighborhood. Calling residents of Bayview Hunters Point to bring your expertise to the Active Communities Plan Workshop on July 29th in person at the Southeast Community Visitation Valley Room, 1550 Evans Street, San Francisco. I Love Tenderloin Day, open to ages 21 and up. These two events aim to change the narrative of the neighborhood, shine some light on the good that is happening, bridge the gap, bring pride to Tenderloin. Special Tenderloin Walking Tour Tuesday, August 1st, 2023, 3:30 p.m. to 5 p.m. at 55 Taylor Street, ending at 601 Eddy Street at the Phoenix Hotel. I Love Tenderloin Happy Hour, Tuesday, August 1st, 2023, at 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., 601 Eddy Street, the Phoenix Hotel Chambers. City College San Francisco is offering a free 18-week certificate program with job placement services for office position in the construction industry. Classes are August to December at 1125 Valencia Street, San Francisco. National Night Out is an annual community building campaign that promotes police community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderie to make a neighborhood safer, more caring places to live. Tenderloin Police Station, Tuesday, August 1st at 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Bodecker Park, 246 80th Street. Police Community Partnership is hosting Bayview National Night Out 2023, Kids Zone, Food, Resource Fair, and more, August 1st, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. There will be two locations, Bayview Opera House, 4705 3rd Street, and Joseph Lee Rec Center at 1598 Oakdale Avenue. Terraville Police Station National Night Out 2023 is also at August 1st at 5 p.m. through 7 p.m. at Minnie and Lovey Ward Recreational Center, 650 Capitol Avenue. Join us for an evening filled with food, music, entertainment, fun, and activities. We would like to invite you to a free in-person screening of The Heart of Access film, which features the COVID-19 response, including Umoja health efforts in the city of San Francisco. Friday, August 4th, 2023, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue, San Francisco. Mo Magic will be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 5th, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. at Ella Hill Hutch, 1050 McAllister Street, San Francisco. How about them apples? Cupcake Mingle Party, August 5th, 2023, 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. Tickets are $50. Sam Jordan's second annual block party, August 6th, 12 to 6 p.m. 1601 of Galvez Street, Sam Jordan's Way. Live entertainment, kid zone, food vendors, retail vendors. Black and Beautiful Family Reunion, August 5th, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Bayview YMCA, 1601 Lane Street, San Francisco. They'll have free haircuts, music, free food, giveaways, and food trucks. Shears Beauty and Barbershop presents Back to School Explosion, August 12th, 2023, featuring a backpack giveaway, free haircuts, food, fun, and family at 918 New Hall Street in San Francisco. B Magic will also be hosting a backpack giveaway on August 12th, 11 to 2 p.m. at Now Hunters Point, 155 Jennings Street, San Francisco. Code Tenderloin's 12-week Community Health Worker Certificate Program. Classes begin August 14th on Zoom, client-centered case working training, Monday through Thursday, 5:30 to 8 p.m., Summer 2023 Employment Workshop. Drop-ins and walk-ins are welcome. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., June 5th, August 17th at 55th Taylor Street, San Francisco. AAACC is pleased to announce the search for a managing director to join a management team. We are looking for an exceptional individual with a strong background in people management, organizational development, and fundraising with experience in the arts. While application packages are reviewed on rolling basis as they received, this closing date it will be August 18th. Chillin' and Grillin', San Francisco, District 11, Sunday, August 20th, 2023, at Ocean View Park, 650 Capitol Avenue at Montana, 12 p.m. to 3 p.m. Free to the public. Code Tenderloin's Job Readiness Program, September 5th, 2023, at 222 2nd Street, San Francisco, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Orientation, Friday, 9/1 at 55 Taylor Street. Code Tenderloin, free coding boot camp, September 6th through the 25th, Monday through Thursday, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at 55 Taylor Street. New vaccination site, COVID-19 booster, monkeypox antiviral pill treatment at 330 Ellis Street, San Francisco, Thursday, 1 p.m. to 5 p.m., as well as 1221 Mission Street, Saturdays, 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. The San Francisco Justice Project presents the Museums for All program. Free or $3 admissions to low-income families in San Francisco all summer long. The community living room now open all day, Monday through Friday, breakfast 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. and grab and go lunches at 2:30 to 3:30 p.m. at City of Hope Cafe, 750 Ellis Street in San Francisco. Farmers Market located at the Southeast Community Center, 1550 Evans Avenue, San Francisco, every Thursday now through November 30th, 3 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. They accept cash, debit, and EBT. OMI Cultural Participation Projects, a day at the races. Saturday, August 26th, 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Golden Gate Fields Racetrack Turf Club, 1100 East Shore Highway, Berkeley, California. Entry fee is $100. OMI Cultural Participation Project, The Wiz, Saturday, January 27th in 2024, 7:30 at the Golden Gate Theater, 1 Taylor Street in San Francisco. San Francisco Human Rights Commission has regular bi-monthly commission meetings on the second and fourth Thursday each month at 5 p.m. in San Francisco City Hall, room 416. You can also attend via Zoom. Would you like to promote your business, nonprofit, or community impact? Sign up for our Hidden Gems show. Share your expertise on our educational Thursdays or be a panelist on Sundays conversation. Keep up with both sides of the conversation's latest shows and community outreach events. Follow us on all social media platforms. You can also subscribe to our newsletter at bsotc.org. Both sides of the conversation welcomes individuals who are interested in giving back to their community to join us as volunteers. We value the positive impact volunteers can make and invite you to be a part of our mission to uplift and support our community. Both sides of the conversation kindly request your invaluable support for our podcast and community engagement endeavors. We cordially invite you to explore any of our donation links, as your generous contributions will greatly aid us in enhancing our program. We would like to take this time to acknowledge the Dream Keeper Initiative and its support of both sides of the conversation programming. The Dream Keeper Initiative amplifies the voices of and invest in San Francisco's diverse Black communities to reform public safety and address structural inequities in San Francisco. This Sunday's conversation, what is the recipe for successful, long lasting relationships? Hidden Gems will be this Tuesday, August 1st. And tonight we have guests Jamie R. Wright.
Well, thank you, Ayo. And now that we have Miss Wright, how are you doing, Miss Wright?
I am doing amazing on purpose, y'all. Happy Thursday. I'm absolutely honored to be here tonight. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. And on behalf of the bishop, who would have loved to have had the opportunity to be here to greet you himself, we want to say your message is so timely for us. And just, I want to make sure that I do get the opportunity to give you a proper introduction for those who might not know who you are. Now, Miss Jamie Wright, who's joining us, is an award winning resilience and encouragement speaker, advocate, activist, coach, and domestic violence survivor with a mission to provide survivor led awareness, empowerment, and advocacy to communities of color that have been impacted by domestic violence. She's appeared on 60 Minutes, BBC News, NBC, CBS, Fox 26, and numerous podcasts and community. We have the privilege of having her here with us tonight on both sides of the conversation. Miss Wright, let us just thank you again and turn it over to you. Please give the people your important, amazing message.
Absolutely. And again, you all, thank you for having me. I am sitting in my car because Io and I were intentional about making this happen, right? Pushing through the epitome of what I'm going to be able to share about tonight. So, yes, as you said, all those things, Mr. Mark, thank you for the lovely introduction. I want this to be a space where your listeners, anybody that is in need of encouragement, can ask me the hard questions. And I'll share a little bit about my story just to give a qualification and insight to who I am and how did I get from A to I would say maybe G, because Lord knows we know the journey, right? Is the journey until we go to the upper room. So I hail from a small town in Oklahoma. Moved out of my small town when I became pregnant when I was 14 years old. And in looking back at it now as an adult, I definitely was acting out of a space of wanting love and attention from a man. I had been sexually mishandled as a child, and so now looking back and pushing through the shame and the embarrassment of being 14 years old and pregnant four more times by the time I was 19 by four different men, I understand now, like, oh, Jamie, you were just simply acting out of what you had experienced as a child. So, you all, I managed to, pull myself up through the support and love of my family, was able to, after dropping out of junior high school when I became pregnant, got a master's degree, got an accounting degree, got all these things, right? Just, resilient. Right? Resilience, and didn't even have the language, you all, back in the day when I was pushing through this stuff, but I was able to push through. Fast forward, my I have two amazing adult children, two daughters. And in 2018, at that point, you all, like, I did my part as being a mother, the good and the not so good. I had done my part as being a wife, the good and not so good. And so I found myself in 2018 actually like living this life as a single, educated mother of two adult children, just doing my thug thizzle. Couldn't tell me anything, you are, like, right, like, I'm pushing through, okay, the adversity, the obstacles. Yes, I'm living my life on my own terms. Picked up an amazing hobby called DFW swing out dancing. Learned how to, like it's like a urban ballroom dance. And I'm, trucking through. At this point, I'm in Dallas Fort Worth, Texas. Had been settled there by that time, maybe like 13 years. So in 2018, after pulling myself together, I meet this amazing man when I was out in the dance community doing my swing out dance. And ordained minister, tall, dark, handsome. This brother was fine, y'all. I was like, yes, like, and he's interested in me. Opening up the car doors, just very much a gentleman. And so after meeting in 2018, we quickly, started dating. He proposed. And for the first time in my life, you all, I finally thought that I was going to live this life, right? That I always dreamed of as a little girl, having a man that, of the cloth, a man that, loved God and financially stable and all of that, despite all that I had been through, which now I know a lot of us have. Despite the depression, despite the suicide attempts, this man is going to love me the way that I wanted to be loved. I moved from Dallas Fort Worth to Houston, Texas after we exchanged vows. And about 3 months after moving to Houston, Texas, not knowing a soul, I found myself embarrassed, hopeless, financially broke, emotionally broken, and homeless in the Houston area as a result of domestic violence. Now, my truth is the physical abuse started about 3 months after we started dating. The mental and the manipulation and the verbal abuse, which I didn't realize was verbal and emotional and mental abuse at the time, happened maybe like a month into it. But you all, that's why I am unapologetic about sharing my story from an awareness standpoint, because I just did not know when these things were happening in my relationship that it was a thing. It was the classic, uh, a classic domestic violence situation. I thought it was normal because I grew up like that. I thought that's what love looked like, was to hit and be hit. So when I was being hit, in my mind, we were going to pray it away. And it was going to stop, and then we were going to live this amazing life. And it wasn't until right before the pandemic in 2020, and I thought this man was going to take my life. He hit me in the face with my laptop, knocked my teeth loose at the time, ended up calling 911 and going to the shelter. Fast forward, I was at this woman's shelter, you all, educated, thought I had it all together, whatever that looks like. And I'm like, I'm at a homeless shelter. And so I asked the therapist, and I'm making a long story short because I honestly want anyone that's listening, even you all, to just ask me the hard questions so we can have a dialogue about the real conversation, right? That can hopefully help someone. But I remember when I was at the shelter, you all, one of the darkest moments in my life, at that point, with the exception of burying my mom to cancer when I was 19, I asked the Creator, I said, Lord, if you would just get me out of this situation, I don't know how it's going to look. I promise you, I will share my story and raise my voice to hopefully prevent anybody from going through this. And so, y'all, he's done just that. Like you all, mentioned at the forefront of the conversation, I went from essentially being homeless to HGTV and all of the beautiful, amazing platforms and podcasts to include both sides of the conversation in between. And so that is the qualifier, the story of how the art of becoming resilient was birthed. So through that, the art of becoming resilient, all I did, you all, is took the tangible, practical steps that I've learned through lots and lots of therapy, through lots of self-awareness and holding myself in my own, decisions, being accountable for them. All I did is brought them together and was like, okay, this is what I've done. And if I share these 5 principles, if these 5 principles will help at least one person, then the struggle, the tears, the embarrassment, the shame has all been worth it. And so the art of becoming resilient, you all, is just, and if you have a pen and a piece of paper, I I encourage you to write these 5 principles down. Try them on. If they work, beautiful. If they don't, throw them in the trash on your way out the door. If you don't have a pen and a piece of paper, that's okay. I have them on an ebook on my website, which is jamier.wright.com. But the 5 principles, or the 5 practical steps, you all, that not only did I take when I was at the homeless shelter, I realized, looking backwards and doing my therapy and my journey work, I've done this pretty much since I was a little girl. Is First of all, awareness. The second, in all of them, is the word art. The second key is acceptance. The third is accountability. The acceptance, I'm sorry, awareness, acceptance, accountability, refusing thank you to give up, and then finally taking action. And so those 5 principles, you all, don't care what it is that you're going through, if you just would try these on, being aware, accepting, being accountable, and just refusing to give up and take action, I promise you it will get you through the darkest times. And I'm going to unpack that really quick. And what I meant specifically in the moment where these 5 principles was birthed was, I wasn't, like I said earlier, wasn't even aware that I was in a domestic violence situation. But when I became aware, it was like a blind spot. You always like, this was going on back here, but it came right here to the forefront of my being. And I became aware. And then I was able to start to take steps consistent with, okay, well, I'm in a domestic violence situation. What do I do next? My next was, go to therapy. My next was, the second principle was accepting, that I had to accept that I made the decision. I had to make the decision. I've honestly, you all, I made the decision to accept that this person was physically, emotionally abusive. But then I also had to make the decision that either I was going to stay in this situation and risk my daughters burying me as a result of me one day saying something to him that he didn't like, or make the decision to do the heavy lifting and the hard work and do what was the best for me, which what was best for me was to pivot and stay out of the relationship. And let me put a disclaimer out there: by any no means am I saying to anyone to leave or stay. I am a very, very vocal advocate about, as a survivor of domestic violence, we know, people around us might not think we know, but we know what's best for us. And sometimes leaving in that moment is not best. Actually, studies show that when a survivor, and I don't use the word victim unless a sister or brother's life is taken. I use survivor because if you're in a domestic violence situation, you're surviving every minute, I mean every moment at times. But studies show that one of the most dangerous times a survivor um, for the survivor ex- that can experience homicide is at the point that they try to leave. So I am not advocating either way. I'm just simply sharing what I did and what the decisions that I made that was best for me. So in that, after I, accepted, became aware, and this you all was through lots of trauma informed therapy that I was able to receive at the shelter. I said, huh, okay, well, if I gave my power to him, meaning I allowed him to talk to me in ways after he would apologize that would leave me feeling disempowered and loved, if I gave that to him, guess what? I can take it back. And every single day that I choose to live my life free of violence, I choose to live my life to spread awareness in my community. I feel, and to spread awareness around getting people that cause people harm the help that they need to understand why. And I don't say perpetrator, I don't say abuser, you all. I say people that cause harm. I'm intentional about the way that the words that I use to describe those people, because the bottom line is the people that are causing harm oftentimes have been harmed, and so without some type of intentional interruption, the hurt is going to continue to hurt others. But every day that I choose to advocate for my community to be free of violence, I feel like that I'm taking my power back. So the absolutely refusing to give up, you all, is, I mean, just that I coexist with major depression disorder. I'm clinically diagnosed. Lots of it came from my childhood. I mean, I wish I could rip it away, but the reality is that I can't. I coexist. I coexist and I live with it. I just realized now that the major depression doesn't give me license or permission to hurt others because I'm depressed, or to lay in my bed for 15 weeks because I don't feel like, going on. It's given me the awareness and the awareness and the information to refuse to give up. I don't care what it is that I've gone through or what I will go through. I think about our ancestors, you all, and I think about, had they given up, had my grandmother given up, had Harriet Tubman given up, then we wouldn't, or I'll use my I statement as my therapist oftentimes reminds me, I wouldn't be here. So who am I to sit around and feel sorry for myself and stay in the bed for weeks at a time? Now, let me put another disclaimer. I do feel sorry for myself, y'all. I'll have me a pity party in a minute. But what I do now is I don't allow myself to stay there very long. I surround myself with people that won't allow me to stay in a sunken place very long. So, and finally, is take action. So for me, taking action is going to therapy. The taking action is um, realizing that as I'm in the movement, that African American women, we are the highest impacted women of color, period, but specifically African American women. And so part of my taking action, you all, is I went back to school. I got a certificate in women in politics because I want to be intentional about shaping the laws and the policies around domestic violence. When I'm in these boardrooms and out in the community, I hear women of color in communities of color are the highest impacted, but then I look over to the politicians and the people that are making the laws, and they don't look like us. So that is one of the take actions that absolutely aligns with my surviving domestic violence and homelessness. And that's my art of becoming resilient.
I just want to first and foremost thank you so much. We see you, we hear you, sister, and I applaud you for your resilience. Um, June 15th, sorry, 2023, my cousin lost her battle with domestic violence. She was murdered by her boyfriend, and we just buried her 2 weeks ago. So this is near and dear to me, and it's still fresh. So I thank you for giving us this window of opportunity in your busy schedule. I really appreciate you for coming on tonight. Um, I wanted to ask if you could share some of your insight into your survival led awareness and your empowerment advocacy services that you provide to the communities of domestic violence and the work that you do for people that look like us.
Well, thank you. Wow. And I do it. I did do it for your cousin. I do it for this young man's mother that lost her battle. I do it for one of my dance sisters that lost her battle. So I pray that God strengthens you all and know that I'm out here in the movement to hopefully continue to do my part to decrease those types of news. So um, the survivor-led awareness that the creator is put on me right now is you all to advocate for the people that cause harm, because truly, unless and until, and especially when we're talking about Black men, unless and until we give these men safe spaces to go to say I'm not okay, we run a risk of them continuing to hurt people, whether it's us as women in a relationship, themselves standing there and getting in their own way in their professional relationships. Because what I realized, Iosis, is when I started to unpack being molested and sexually mishandled as a young lady, after the ridicule as a young child, after people ridiculed me for coming home and being pregnant, and they seen that I was, pulling my life back together, people surrounded me and supported me, and they started to understand, and they still understand why I was so promiscuous, right? Well, as I'm in the movement, there has been a handful of men, Black men, that's come up to me. One told me he was raped on his way home. He's in his 50s. His parents knew something changed, but they didn't know what, right? What changed about. This man is 50 plus years old, and there's not a safe space that I know of that's readily available. And if there's anybody out there that provides safe spaces, please let me know. There wasn't at that time a safe space that I could tell this brother, go talk, like go unpack that with someone. Another brother, he was kicked out of school as a young man because people would make fun of his mom back in the 90s for being on crack cocaine. So of course that led him to fighting, and then he's in prison. And we all know when, people go to prison, especially our men go to prison, God only knows what happens to them, and they come out and they're worse than what they did going back in. So for the last 2.5, 3 years, my survivor led awareness was, and it will continue to be around, hey, sis, hey, brother, like, we've got to hold ourselves accountable. Don't focus on why the person caused you harm, focus on why you accepted that. You go do your work, and then I'm gonna start campaigning for people, especially our Black men. We can't throw them away. And I'm not saying Black men to marginalize anyone else. I just stay in my lane. I've never been anything but Black, and I've never dated anybody but Black men. So that's why I hone in. I stay in my lane, and I speak on what we know. So sis, as you're doing your work over here to figure out why, then I'm gonna be advocating for funding, federal funding. I'm gonna be advocating for, hey brother, I got you, because if you don't, if I'm rising and you're not rising too, then we're not rising, and I'm not gonna leave you behind. So you need to get it together, and here's where you need to go. So I'm gonna advocate for policy change. Um, I'm a big component of restorative justice and transformative justice. I think I've talked about that once before on both sides of the story. I'm actually it's sitting in the parking lot because I'm at a Melanin Minds mental health event that's kicking off here in Houston the whole entire weekend for the BIPOC community. And if anybody's watching that's not familiar with that term, y'all, it's a term that's like getting lots of attention and it stands for Black, Indigenous People of Color. So, one of the things that we're doing in this movement this weekend is going back to our ancestral practices in like a talking circle we'll have and sound bowls and just getting back grounded. So that's what that looks like now for me as I'm advocating for people that cause harm to get the help that they need, to get the healing that they need, and they deserve to live a life without violence and without causing violence.
Well, sis, again, I just want to say thank you again because I understand the courage that it takes to be vulnerable and transparent with your own story. So many times in our society, we've been conditioned to protect our egos and our image, while on the inside, we're confused, we're hurt, we're damaged, and we're repeating cycles. Now, you have been gifted with the platform. I mean, being on, 60 Minutes and the doctor shows and bring able to bring a new level of awareness to it. How could you connect that with maybe one or two tips or insights for the person who's maybe trying to figure out, is their relationship one that they should start planning an exit for, or is it maybe something that can be worked out? Because I think a lot of people feel ashamed if they find themselves in these situations because, oh, you should have picked better, or maybe, this is something that you brought on yourself. But we need to free ourselves from that shame, but we need real practical ways to navigate these situations because we do need each other.
Absolutely, we do, brother. You nailed it. So one of the this is how I made the decision that was best for me, which was to stay gone. Is as I started working on myself with with the trauma informed therapist, and a lot of what it led back to my childhood. As I started and began and continued as I started and continued working on myself, and at the time I was still in communication with my ex, I'm asking him to get help too. So I'm doing what I just proposed we do as a whole community. And he started making decisions, you all, that made it very clear to me as I'm growing mentally, emotionally, he's making decisions without any help that was further damaging the trust, further damaging the. So I would say to anyone, first of all, please don't take advice from somebody that's not doing what you want to do. And I'm talking about relationship wise, professional wise, entrepreneurial wise. If you're taking advice, please let it be from somebody that's doing what you want to do or doing what you're doing. So, specifically in the domestic violence awareness movement, there is the National Domestic Violence Hotline. There is trained advocates for people that are causing harm and people that are surviving the harm. Reach out to them because oftentimes studies show, Mark, that we just need, and I'll always consider myself a survivor, we just need someone to talk to. We don't really even want anybody's advice. We want someone to hold space. So the practical thing I would say to do is reach out to a trained advocate and start with the National Domestic Violence Hotline. It's a 24-hour, 7-day a week, 365. It's free, it's confidential. The second thing I would say to do is get help. Even if we have to go outside the church, get it where you can. Interview these therapists and counselors and advocates. If it's not a good fit, with love and grace, say thank you and find someone that's going to work. Because you're right, we need each other. And if one person's not doing the work, my favorite Bible says, how does two agree? Right? And so it organically takes this beautiful notion, and that's what beautiful empowering notion. Then we can do what's best for us based on what we know to do, not based on outside influences. And it just organically what I know for certain. It just organically takes this beautiful, I don't even know the term, Mark, this beautiful manifestation.
Well,
That's
I'm again with all your experience. There's so many questions because, quite honestly, I think all of us are dealing with so much. And when you talk about our culture, our society now, how do you see us as a community in this new awareness to mental health? How do you see us using it as a way to move the needle forward for everybody in the community? Because you said something unique that I haven't heard many women saying. I'm just speaking as a black man, of understanding that even though our women have gone through so much trauma on their end, still recognizing that men haven't been absent of going through our own thing. So I really think that part of the message is going to do a lot to bring the community together. How do you think going forward in the next, say, decade, we'll be able to use your art of resilience to heal the community in the gender war aspect?
That is a great question, Mark. I think it'll have everything to do with what you mentioned earlier, the authenticity. And I think the more people are transparent when it's appropriate and authentic, the more of us can see it and see what it looks like, and the more of us will do it. Brene Brown, if you all are not familiar with her, Brene Brown, she studies shame, and she's a powerhouse, right? She's an ally. I call her ally because she's a Caucasian sister, but she does like what she's talking about is beautiful. And she oftentimes says when we're vulnerable, it gives the person that we're holding space for and with permission to be vulnerable. So we just start and I think we've been taught it in the church, right? You put on this facade, but it's all about authenticity and vulnerability, and knowing that if somebody comes to us and they are vulnerable, and when I say vulnerable, I'm saying they come to us and they bear their nakedness. They're like butt booty naked, emotionally fit. That's an honor, and that's a privilege. So we dare not take anything that that person has said to us and take it to anybody else but the creator. Because in my mind, I strongly believe, and this goes back to I think what my grandmother would say, and it's in the good book, you never know when you're entertaining an angel. And I strongly believe that if we don't start to see that as an honor to hold that space and pray or meditate with that, we'll have to answer for that. I think the third practical tool is just having the conversation, just being aware. Like that's why I love it. I'm sitting in my car so I could be here with y'all, having the conversation and stop acting like it doesn't exist. I think, and it's just gonna take a toll. I mean, it's just gonna, we start to pass on these generational blessings of freedom, right? Instead of passing on this generational shame and guilt and all that.
I couldn't agree more. I am familiar with Brene Brown, and I actually had some quotes here from her in my notes to talk to you about. But like the attributes of courage, looking at your story. Sorry about getting emotional. And reading over, and just hearing you be so open and transparent, actually your voice, putting your voice to the words that you read about, that I read about. And the attributes of courage, according to Brene Brown: commitment, endurance, determination, diligence, steadfastness, boldness, and bravery. And you are the epitome, sis. You are the epitome of those things. I appreciate um, the part of you guys wanting to, you and your organization, reaching out to those who trespass against women in that manner, because from personal experience, this personal experience, the person who took my cousin's life, it wasn't his first rodeo, so to speak. It wasn't his first woman that he had done this to. And her voice will ring. We will remember, justice for Kayla. And I appreciate women like you because your voice and your advocacy, your healing is now making a way for us to do the inner work, not just for the survivors, but for those who don't understand why they do these things that they do. And especially the repeat offenders, it's something inside. They need healing too. And I appreciate that so much. Yes, it is a whole different perspective to have when looking at domestic violence, but it's a perspective that's needed. It's a necessary roughness that might ruffle some feathers and get people uncomfortable, but it's going to get people talking. It's going to get people to understand the core value and the core of what the situation and issue is at hand is making sure that we cure, restore, reset, and lend those same resources to those who are the trespassers. And I really appreciate that. As Mark said, you have been on many platforms. And we so appreciate you for coming on tonight and giving us your time. Um, how has sharing your experience on these platforms, such as like 60 Minutes and the doctors, helped you in raising awareness and initiating the conversations about domestic violence?
Wow, I think it's just a vehicle, you all. I'm grateful. Do not get me wrong. It's just those are just simply vehicles, and it's confirmation that we're in it. We're having this conversation because it's the time, such a time as this. The creator already knew that we were gonna have this conversation tonight, right? When we were being formed in our mother's wombs. So and that's I stay humble because I'm very clear, just a vehicle. I'll speak on the side of the road, y'all. If I gotta go on HGTV or speak on the side of the road, whatever awareness, however I can raise awareness, right, in my community is just that. That's all. And it's just being relentless and determined to really seriously, I really seriously want to eradicate domestic violence in my community.
Well, you're definitely not alone, Sister Wright. And we do want to be respectful of your time because we do understand you're a very busy lady. But before we let you go, we want to give you an opportunity. I mean, we want to give you more flowers, of course, but other people in your journey that have helped you that you may want to shout out or acknowledge or salute, we want to make sure you have an opportunity to do that as well.
Oh wow, y'all! I get the name and names. Oh, the first person that comes to my grandmother's an ancestor now. We buried her in May. Um, yeah, my spiritual mom, Mama O, the church that helped me navigate that tough time and prayed me right out of that shelter, y'all, which is Mount Rose Church of God in Christ, the Potter's House based out of Dallas. My king, Robert, he's probably watching me now, y'all. He's got a nonprofit organization coming, Kings Helping Kings. And so he'll be able to unpack for men. One of the things is how to love a woman that's experienced violence and and molestation, how to love a person in spite of that. So y'all please be on the lookout for him. My kids, y'all, my family, my therapist, and most of all, you all, everything, everybody I just named, and even y'all are manifestations of my prayers from God. Because for a very long time, I didn't think that He loved me because of all the things that we were going through. So He continues to show Himself strong, and I'm just grateful for it. Yeah. So anybody that I miss, y'all, that's helped me be along my journey, my best friend Ton, please charge it to my head and not my heart. Y'all know I mean. Y'all know I mean well.
Wow. Well, again, we want to thank you. And there's so much still I know we could talk about and ask you, but as always, we do want to be respectful of your time. Sister Ayo, before we let her go, anything else you got?
I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you so much. I know I was nagging you. But like you said, resilience, persistence, right? I do appreciate you coming on and sharing and vocalizing. You do have a huge following, but vocalizing and letting our community hear you and letting them understand, and us finding a new resource, a new bridge to start healing and repairing, restoring, resetting all of the trauma and triggers and damage that domestic violence has done to our communities. And the sweeping under the rug can go no more. We must uplift our voices. We must do that inner work, and not just amongst the survivors, but we need to start to try to come together and heal those who trespass against those. So I appreciate you. I have the utmost respect for you, and I am so grateful that you came on tonight. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, y'all. Thank y'all. Have a blessed, amazing, phenomenal rest of the evening and tomorrow and weekend on purpose.
Well, you do the same, Queen, and just know we extend an invitation for you and your king to come back anytime and bless us with your presence.
Let's go. Okay, let's do it.
Thank you very much, Sister
All
Wright.
right. All right, y'all. Good night.
Good night. Wow, wow, Sister Ayo. I mean, such an amazing, amazing story. The power that our people possess, even after everything that we've been through, to still be able to reach back and pull others back and give them the tools is nothing short of amazing.
That part alone, like I said, I was reading a lot of her bio, um, and in preparing for it tonight, but it being still fresh in my family, um, that part alone, because you go through the cycles of grief, right? And it's still a little bit of the anger cycle, the unknowing, and the questioning, and courage, right? There's a lot of different pillars and skill sets that you have courage, to have the courage to have that voice and be an advocate, and also wanting to, like you said, reach back for those who trespass against others in domestic violence, those who are the aggressors, those who are wanting to do harm and not knowing why they repeat these cycles in their own lives. What are their traumas and triggers, and how we can try and heal them, because that's where the repair and the cycle will end if we're able to actually start to do that work. We have coverage from the creator. We have coverage in those who have been skilled and blessed with a vision and or gift from God to do those things for those who have survived. But it takes a special type of gift to have, to want to actually heal and repair someone who's done unbelievable, unimaginable things to someone. And I would just say tonight that courage is more than just having that tough exterior. It's about displaying vulnerability. It's about finding your clarity and values in clarity, your values in what your vulnerability is, um, trust and wanting to actually do the inner work, trusting yourself to be vulnerable, trusting yourself to gain that clarity and not utilizing it as a crutch. As she said, depression can creep up on you at any time. Going through with God and therapy, going through the motions, you have waves, and you can choose to lay down. You can choose to be a victim in the victim cycle, should I say, in the victim cycle of things. Or you can choose to utilize it as tackling fuel. You can choose to utilize that hurt to help you heal. And wanting to heal yourself, also being able to not only forgive a person for what they've done to you, but to forgive them for not knowing and understanding what it is and what trauma that they have not healed from nor addressed that keeps them doing these things. Again, I thank Miss Jamie Wright for coming on tonight. Um, like I said, it's still fresh in us. Um, I did a lot of breathing tonight. I did, but I knew the emotions were going to come over me. But it's still raw and real, and to have that voice, to be able to have this platform, and to gain awareness to this subject at hand, because in our community alone, we sweep it under the rug. We make excuses until we have no more excuses. And the only excuse we have is, did she have life insurance or a GoFundMe? We can't continue to be closed mouth. We can't continue to turn a blind eye. We must take up arms and rescue with God as our lead, but we must do that inner work and do the work within each other, for each other. So I thank everyone who tuned in tonight, and I pray that you take something with you. Those 5 steps, you take something with you, you get her information, reach out, get her ebook, and this can be the beginning to something amazing within our community and bridging this gap where we fall by the wayside. So I appreciate you guys.
Well, you are definitely appreciated, Sister Io, and sometimes I just admire the gems of wisdom that you drop. I'll be honest, this show was probably a little bit harder for us to get through and do than some of the others, but it was definitely needed. And we want to represent the commitment and the mission of both sides of the conversation to get the information and the empowerment to the community, because at the end of the day, we need each other. Um, on behalf of Bishop, um, we sincerely love the community, Bishop. We send our heart out to you. We love you, and thank you, Sister Jamie Wright, for the art of becoming resilient and sharing your story, and to try to summarize what this moment means to us as a community, the opportunity that we have. All of us have dealt with, experienced, or are going through some level of trauma, pain, hurt, dysfunction. It's a product of our society. And to try to put into perspective where we are now, we really have to understand how we got here. And that conversation, just to be brief, for the last 450 plus years as a community, we've been under assault physically, psychologically, emotionally, economically, spiritually. It would be it would be remiss of us to expect us to go through all of that and never address the issues and still have to deal with the overt and the subversive nature of the oppression that we as a people have faced, and not had any opportunity to really heal ourselves. To expect us to not have problems is just unrealistic. We do have to have the commitment, though, to taking ownership of our healing process. And I'm thankful for the powerful people, especially sisters like Miss Wright, who have taken their own experience, their own story, and turned it into an empowering lesson to help others. That's the same spirit that a Sojourner Truth, that a Nat Turner, that so many great men and women throughout our history have dug within and found the nature of the greatness that we come from, because we are the original creators of civilizations and societies that worked and were healthy. where people knew how to take care of each other. And I'll be honest, community, I am longing for a time when we as Black people can feel safe with ourselves. And it's obvious we have to go through a healing process. So I want to encourage you, if you got to get counseling, if you got to get prayer, if you got to go to the mosque, if you have to have a circle of elders and friends, find help, because we can't do this alone. It may not all be our fault while we're in the situations that we are, but it is our responsibility as a people in a community to heal and fix ourselves, because nobody else is going to do it for us. And particularly for those who've lived any life, we have an obligation to our children and their children to set a better example and give them a foundation to build on, so that they can see a better tomorrow than we're living in today. So with that, community, that will be the benediction. I thank you. I pray that you continue to support us here at both sides of the conversation, because we are committed to uplifting our community. Thank you,
Yeah.
allies, and everybody else. So with that, we're signing off. We love you,
I would
community.
just say and leave you guys with this: say her name, Kayla Riley, justice for Kayla, and justice for each and every woman and or man who has lost their lives due to domestic violence. Good night, everyone. Have a blessed night, community.
Good night, community.